tips to make, let's get started, tips to make better decisions and help your bees grow. That's one of the things I see happening a lot. Beekeepers struggle with how to know when to make the right decision. And that's why a lot of people have joined our B Team 6 mentorship program, why a lot of you might be here on the live stream. It's why a lot of people leave comments in my YouTube channel, is because they kind of just don't know how to make the right decision. I got to be honest with you, for the most part, decision making in beekeeping comes easier for me, but there are still some times where I'm perplexed on what to do. We're always learning. We're always faced with different scenarios. But the more you're in this, the more you're going to get better at it. Now, I'm going to categorize these kind of in order what the most important thing is. Look, the most important thing in beekeeping and running your hive, helping it to grow really fast and have a lot of bees, is drawn out comb. Think about it. If you don't have any drawn out comb, or if they're slow in drawing out your frames, no place to lay. That means no eggs, no brood. That means no future workforce in the numbers that you need them to be. That means no place to store a lot of good resources, honey and nectar and pollen and bee bread. No place to store them. Bees are going to be hungry, low population. So the beekeeper's best friend might be a smoker or her smoker, but it could be drawn comb. Don't ever underestimate just how wonderful it is to have drawn comb. I know you guys that are new to beekeeping this year, it's a challenge because you may have just started. You don't have, drawn comb from last year. You just got to jump in and get started and save that comb every year. But this is the most important step, because you want your bees to be able to expand out into the drawn comb and not have to use all their energy in that drawn comb. Now, I've talked a lot about the drawn comb, and one of the things that I've shared is that you need to wax your frames. That will speed it up tremendously. Another thing that I experienced, I'm making a video on it now, is that I use some acorn frames, foundation, I guess, and I did a video yesterday, going to publish it soon, showing how much of those frames they drew out in 6 days. I'm not going to tell you whether it's good or bad. You're going to have to watch the video for sure. But that's some of the things that we need to think about, is how do we help the bees? And that one of the tips is, the way to help them grow faster, give them a lot of wax on your frames. Number two, the second thing is the queen's ability to lay a lot of eggs. Now, I don't care what anybody says. I guess I really don't care. I kind of do care, but don't care, because in this season right now, queens should be laying 2,000 to 2,500 eggs a day. Now, I know some people say, oh, no, 1,000, 1,500 is all you're going to get out of her. That's not true at all. I've studied it. I've analyzed my queens. I've gone to a couple of years ago, went to the extent of actually doing the math in a video to show you how many eggs my queens were laying a day. And it came out to roughly around 2,500 eggs a day in the heat of the season, which is June for me. Now, if your queen's only punching out 700 because she's not, just not mated good, or just not a good laying queen, you're down 1,300 bees a day being laid. So you've got to monitor that. Get in your head, if you really want your bees to really pick up and grow really fast and good, monitor your egg laying. And with that, you can monitor the larvae and the capped brood. A lot of people just open up a hive and look at capped brood, and they say, oh, look, good. That capped brood is good. Look, it's smooth. It's really capped over, good brood right there. Good brood pattern, we say. You know what? You can have one frame of good brood pattern and no eggs, and you're not very well off. So you got to get really in the mood and in the kind of the detail of looking for eggs, whatever it takes, some good reading glasses, whatever. You got to want to see a lot of eggs. Then your future looks good for those bees. Okay. The next tip is to feed your bees. Feeding your bees is, I think I got the numbers wrong, but this should be number 3. Feeding your bees really helps tremendously. Anytime you're not feeding your bee or not collecting honey in a honey super, why not feed your bees? You know, whether it's winter, whether it's late winter, whether it's late summer, early fall, why not feed them? If you're not collecting honey in your honey super, it's going to help your bees to feed them. They need a lot of that food to do all the stuff that they need to do. Especially true for those of you right now that are needing your frames to be drawn out. Keep feeding them. It's going to help so much. Some people quit feeding because they think there's enough resources in the area. There is, but you might hit a rainy season. You might just have bees that haven't produced a lot of foragers yet. So if you can get some food on top of them and a top feeder, that's going to help tremendously. It's going to help your bees really grow fast. There we go. Number 4, tips to make better decisions and help your bees grow faster. You got to know your spacing. Now, I made another video this week where I fell asleep at the wheel on one of my hives, and I didn't really get the spacing wrong, but I didn't give them enough room to expand. And you know what happens when you don't give them enough room to expand? I think they had enough room. I think they had about 1 frame left to expand onto. But what did they do? They went ahead and swarmed anyway. Here's the tricky part. If you give them too much room to expand, you can actually hurt your bees. And here's how. It can allow a lot of space in your box for other critters like small hive beetle or wax moths to really get in there and do their damage, because the bees aren't able to spread out through multiple boxes, for example, and police or guard that area, keep them out of there. So you don't want to give them too many. So I'm learning after 30 years of beekeeping is that I need to allow my bees to have at least 3 to 4 empty frames in every box. And you might ask, well, what are you going to do when you have 2 deeps that are full? You have 2 or 3 supers that are full. Aren't they still going to swarm? Well, what we do is try to get past the swarm season. We get into the honey production season, and then we don't have to worry about it so much. So here I am, June, the 13th, 14th or something like that. Yeah, 13th. And they're still swarming almost in the middle of June. You can't let your guard down too soon about that, depending on where you live. And number 5, here's a good tip to grow your hive, is to equalize your hives. Now, I want you to listen to a phrase that I love. You ready? And that is, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I realize that some of you may have started beekeeping with just 1 colony, 1 hive, and maybe that's all you want to contend with. Maybe that's all you can afford. No problem with that at all. That's good. Just remember, though, if you have 2 hives or more, you can equalize your hives. And so if one starts to get overcrowded, you could pull a frame out with bees and all this time of the year, put it in a weaker colony to shore that one up a little bit. Or if one fails, the queen, they don't replace their queen, they're queenless, then you could go ahead and bring over some eggs from another colony. So think about that. If you don't want to really run two hives because it's a lot of work, think about what I've taught is get a resource hive or a 5-frame nucleus, and just have that 5-frame nucleus with a queen is a resource where you can pull frames out to support your larger colony. But I really think it's important to realize we need to learn the art of equalizing our hives. It's going to let all of them grow stronger at a better pace. And then finally, tips to make better decisions and help your bees grow fast is to know your weather and your season. Now, this is really tricky. A lot of people don't spend time in beekeeping studying weather patterns or their seasons in their area, and they wind up kind of just being surprised. Like, for example, this week and for the next 10 days or more at least, it's going to be super hot. And if you're new to beekeeping and you don't know much about what hot weather does to bees, it literally shuts them down. It really does. Especially if you're in the very deep south, it can actually damage your bees. And we keep them out in the sun to avoid small hive beetle infestation. So I always tell people, have a water source nearby, and also put something like a 4x4 sheet or plywood on top of your hive to allow shading in the hottest part of the day. But you got to understand, bees are going to really work terribly hard to cool that hive down in the next 10 days. Now you say, David, bees have been around a long time before people, started keeping them in boxes. They'll do fine without my help. Bees were in trees, right? Now, where are trees? Trees are in shaded forest. How thick is a tree? 6 inches, usually, before you get into the hollow part of the tree where the bees are. So their natural habitat is in the shade. That's before beetles. And it's with a very thick wall tree. So they don't have as much trouble staying cool. Now we put them in a 3/4 inch wooden box out in the sun, or a plastic box out in the sun. And wow, that's really tough on our bees. So you got to know your weather. Also got to know the weather about winter time. And you got to know the weather about what are my bees going to be going to get nectar? When does a dearth start where they're not getting nectar anymore and I need to start feeding them? You got to have all these things ready to go. This is going to give you this is going to be your superpower. It's going to be the upper hand that you need to really just blow everybody else out of the water with your ability to keep your hives very healthy. Now we can talk about pests and diseases and mites and all that, but until we get all of these tips down, we really, we can't really help them much. If your bees don't have any wax to build out their hives on, they're not going to really have a mite problem because they don't have a population growth at all. And mites grow on populated beehives. So you get my point. These tips hopefully will give you an idea of really what we're after when it comes to really trying to keep our bees really strong. But let me say now about decision making. How do you become a better decision maker when it comes to bees? And a lot of that is going to come by your knowledge. You're right. It's not going to come by the equipment you buy. It's not going to magically appear because you're wearing this fancy suit or hat and a veil, or you got a great hive tool. It doesn't happen. It comes by your knowledge. And so thanks for being here tonight. This is where you're picking up a lot more knowledge in beekeeping, where you can ask questions and get your questions answered. Once you have a question answered that you're really struggling with, a light bulb goes off, and then you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. In the Michigan meeting, somebody asked me, I said, if you have a weak hive and you have more than one, move over a frame of capped over brood with bees and all into the weak colony to kind of get them a head start, get them going a little bit, give them a little boost. And somebody asked a question, a very good question. Why capped over brood? Why not open larvae? Why not just open brood? And that's when I explained, because open larvae requires a lot of food. They're visited like 10,000 times by nurse bees, one single larvae is. And so if you put that into a weak colony, the weak colony is probably going to cannibalize the eggs and the larvae that you give them. And they're never going to raise that many because they don't have the energy, and the nurse bees can't metabolize their food to make royal jelly to feed the larvae. So you always want to do cap brood. Cap brood is going to emerge and in 6 days be nurse bees in that weak colony. Isn't that just brilliant? When you just have that kind of knowledge of bee biology, it boosts your ability to solve problems and make better decisions. So if you, here's another example, and I'll show you in my video coming up, but we looked at a hive yesterday, and it was my big Lands hive. And as I did, I saw queen cells in the middle, 3 of them side by side. Well, I didn't see a ton of queen cells, but I saw quite a few. Maybe I saw 6 or 8 altogether. And so I could not tear those down or touch those until I verified my original queen was in there. And she wasn't. There was no queen in there, even though I saw eggs. So they had just swarmed hours before you got in there, because those eggs were sticking straight up. That means they were queenless. So I'm leaving those swarm cells there. And I could tell by the population they were slightly down. So that kind of knowledge is going to help you make better decisions, not to kill the only queens that your hives needs to be used to replace. See what I'm saying? So the more knowledge, the more experience you have in beekeeping, just the better everything is going to work out for you. So the best way for you to gain this knowledge is going to be by taking a beekeeping course from a reliable, credible person or organization or university that teaches on bees and they have years behind them. That's going to be a big push for you to take a class. We offer online courses as well. Or you can simply be self-taught. Now, I was self-taught in the beginning. Now, I remember one time somebody said this to me on YouTube. They said, you're telling everybody to take a class, but you didn't start that way, David. And yet you sound like a hypocrite. You're telling us to take a class. That's right, because I learned from my mistakes. My mama didn't raise no dummy. I started the wrong way, the bad way, and it took me years to figure out what I could have learned in a 4 to 6 hour course. It took me years and a lot of money. I would say thousands of dollars that I spent trying to figure bees out, because I started, like I said, 30 years ago, wasn't that much information out there. So yeah, that's why I'm telling people today, don't do what I did and start that way. That's a rough way to start. I'm self-taught, and I know some of you love being self-taught. Nothing wrong with that. But look, having somebody else real knowledgeable give you a boost to you wanting to teach yourself is great. And you can be self-taught by learning from others. That's just great. So think about that, get a lot of knowledge. And look, here's where it comes down, where the rubber meets the road. You just got to get experience. You really do. Stay in it 5 years. Don't give up. 5 years, you'll have a lot of experience. You'll be making better decisions all along. That's great. All right. Well, I hope that's been helpful tonight to get some ideas about how you can get your bees to build up a little faster. But I can't tell you again, you got to watch that queen. Make sure you got a lot of wax on those frames. You got to have good frames. Absolutely. Okay, it's time for some questions. And in just a little bit, I've got a new segment that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope it'll work, and we'll give it a try. But let's go ahead and dig into some of your questions, and especially those of you that are struggling with maybe some beginning questions. Might be pretty tough for you. Hey, Deb, how are you tonight? Would the worker bees consume drone brood since we are in a drought and no blooming flowers within the area? My green drone comb had drone brood a week ago, ready to be capped, and now it's empty. Oh, I would say that they could if they were in an egg form or a very early larvae form. If they were just about ready to be capped over, they're still larvae, I guess they could consume that, but it's more likely that it could be extremely hygienic. So you got those two options. We don't know for sure. It could be hygienic, that they saw some mites on those drones and they got rid of them. Or yeah, they could be, they also could be not wanting those drones. Like, this is going to be a real energy drain on the colony, this many drones. So let's just get rid of them, not raise them all the way out. There's a lot that could be going on there, Deb. One of those three things probably is going on. Yeah, it could be. Good question. All right. Hey, Gene, why are my bees pulling out drones and killing them? Oh, that's the same as what Deb has going on. They're pulling out drones and killing them because they don't want them. That's normally something we see in the fall when they know they're going into winter. We don't need drones anymore. For them to do it now, it just means that they just feel like they don't need that many drones anymore. I find it to be slightly unusual, because most colonies know they need to create drones, because that's the male sperm gamete that goes out into nature and populate or mate with virgin queens. So, you just don't want to end that. You want your genetics to go forth from your hive through your drones and spread your genes. So it's surprising they're doing that, but it could be for the same reasons I just told Debbie. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Eric, for your super sticker. I appreciate you guys donating to the live stream tonight. If you don't know how to donate to the live stream and you want to donate, you can always go to our website at honeybeesonline.com, and you'll see a place there that you can actually make your donation from our website. I know when I first tried to make a donation on a live stream, I couldn't figure out how to get my credit card in there. It took me a minute. I think my bank didn't like it or something. So we made a place for you guys not to struggle with that. I have 2 hives and both look really good during an inspection, but one has doubled the foragers both started from nukes 2 weeks apart. Any thoughts on why? Yeah, it really depends on the age of the bees. Foragers, once they get about 21, 23 days old, they start foraging. It just depends on how many bees the queen laid at that, magical moment in time. And if one nuke was pumping out 2,500 eggs, the other nuke was pumping out 1,000 eggs, which isn't bad, but below the 2,500, you're going to see a difference. There could be a lot of other reasons too. There could be that foragers can get caught up in some issue out there, like pesticides or insecticide, a poisoning, something like that. I wouldn't think that'd be the case. You might see them coming back dead or coming back sick and dying. But sometimes foragers do get into pesticides that are out there, and thankfully they don't come back. What I mean is they don't bring it back to the hive. They're killed by it. So you always have that to wonder about. Hard to know for sure. Yeah. Hey, Mark, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate it, Mark. Thanks so much, guys, for supporting the cause, supporting the effort here on the live stream. Yep. Hey, Richard, does checkerboarding help the bees to draw out comb? It can. Checkerboarding is something that the gentleman that created the idea of checkerboarding was only intended to be used in the super and up above in the honey super. Now, we have since used it kind of down below in the brood sometimes. And I've checkerboarded the brood, and it's worked out pretty good. The idea is that you're putting an empty, undrawn frame between two drawn frames, whether it's in the honey super or down below, and the bees can go right to work on that. Sometimes that does cause a problem because they can build it out in an irregular shape. Maybe they'll build one side out, not the other. Just give it a try and see how it goes, Richard. But yeah, it should work just fine. Yep. Hey, Chad, how you doing from Pennsylvania? Next week, our temperatures will be in the 90s and approaching 100 for a week or more. I know it. It is not good. Your bees will stop going out for nectar, and they'll start water detail. They'll go out and get water, bring it back. Droplets of water will be placed on the developing pupae comb, and they'll fan it for evaporative cooling. Let's see, my little screen's in the way. Will this slow down building? I'm planning to give them shade with your tips of putting plywood on top. It will slow down building tremendously. That's right, it will. Being so hot like that is really harder on bees than a rainy season when bees can't fly. A rainy season, they're in there, they have their resources, they're staying kind of cool doing their work. Hot, they have to work harder. You'll see them bearding. If you got a solid bottom board, they'll be out front at night. They'll be out on the grass. All new beekeepers, listen up. You're going to see your bees in hot weather. If you got a solid bottom board, they're going to be a big part of your colony. It's going to be on the front and in your grass, hanging off the front bottom board. Don't freak out. Don't leave a lot of comments on my YouTube channel asking me what's going on. That's because they're hot and humid. So some of the girls just have to get out of that box. So they're going to burn up their brood that has to be kept 92 to 96 degrees Fahrenheit. So in order not to overheat their own brood, they're getting out of there and staying cooler out front. Good question. I like that. All right. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button. Hey, Leah. Good to see you, Leah. And it's good to see my granddaughter, Vera. Hi, Vera. Good to see you, Vera. Oh, it's great to hear from them. Awesome. Hey, Jeremy, David, where do I install green drone comb in my double deep brood box? Good question, Jeremy. There's not a, have to scientific way to figure this out. Just think of brood. Drone brood is usually on the outer sphere of the brood nest area, on the outer parameter of it. So I like to put my green drone comb usually second or third from the wall, because that's where it will be kind of considered drone brood. If it gets too close to the wall, they'll just put honey in it. So maybe that third frame over would be the first place that I have most success with it. Good question. By the way, those of you that are just tuning in and you don't know what green drone comb is, green drone comb looks like this. Guess what color it is? It's green. It's larger cell size. So the queen lays drone brood, that's unfertilized eggs in here that turn into big drones. Mites prefer that. They go in there, and when it's capped over, you freeze this and you kill a lot of mites. So that's what it is it's called green drone comb trapping mites. That works really good. All right. I have a new colony. I think that means new. I bought a honey super that is partially filled and has sat in a garage all winter. Is it safe to feed it to my bees along with top feeder? Okay, well, a couple of things going on here. You bought the super from another person, a honey super, so you really don't know for sure how safe it is. It's a risk you're going to take. There could be spores of brood diseases. We typically don't see that in honey supers, but I wouldn't rule it out entirely. You could have nosema or bee poop on it. If it overwintered and they pooped in there, it could have nosema spores. I don't know. I can't say it's safe to use, although it sounds like it would be. I just had an internet issue. You hear me, Robbie? Jessica? Okay, good. All right. So we're back. We're back now. Sorry about that. Some kind of issue, maybe a storm or something. So yeah, stay tuned while David gets back. Well, I'm back now. All right. Have no clue where I left off. I couldn't even see myself. All right. We were talking about drone comb and all that, but okay. Yeah, here we go. Feeding the bees with a top feeder. If you're going to feed them sugar water with the super on, just be aware that honey super may get some sugar water in it. So you may not want that in your honey super. But if you're just feeding bees, probably won't hurt anything. All right. Any other questions? Feed me some more questions. How many hives do you have and what different ones? I'm almost 9 and have 3. I hope for more next year. My dad helps me with them. Thank you for making my videos. That's really great. Great to see young people in beekeeping. And my number of beehives, I only have a certain number here on the property that I use for my YouTube studio. And roughly that number is about 30 hives right here. The bees that we use for our packages, for our nucleus, for our nuke production. For example, I think right now, the gentleman that puts our nukes together for us and manages the nuke yard and all, there's about 100 colonies over there. I don't know how many packages that are used or how many hives are used to make the packages up, but I'm only playing around with about 30 of them. I used to have a lot more, but as you can see by the color of my hair, I'm getting older. And 30 is a lot to take care of. But I think 3 is great. And, just remember, don't get in it too deep that you start hating beekeeping because it becomes a chore. It's not a chore until you have a problem. Like, let's say you have, let's say you get up to 100 colonies or 500 colonies, and now you got a lot of honey to process. You got a bout with European foul brood. You got to buy a lot of terramycin, or there's just things that come up. You got to buy a truck. So let your parents guide you wisely to make the right decisions. I would really encourage you to enter into it slowly. Hey, Holly, thanks for your donation tonight. Just at the hives, bees are everywhere. Should I get in there and make sure there's enough room? No boarding, and doesn't seem to be robbers. So there's a lot of activities around your hive. Sometimes we feel like when bees are getting ready to get familiar with foraging, that they go out on orientation flights. And you'll see this in the afternoon around 3, 4 o'clock, and it will look like a swarm. There will be bees in the air like crazy. And it's like new bees emerging, foragers new foragers getting some orientation flight. Probably what you're seeing there is what I'm guessing. Since you don't feel like, if they didn't have enough room, I think they would just beard out the front rather than be flying all around there. Yep. Hey, Michael. Hey, David. Love your show. Have a little bit of an issue with a couple of hives. Don't we all? I think out of the 30 hives, I've got 2 or 3 right now that are making me work hard to keep them strong. They really are. Every time I Every time I add a new queen, they kill them. Yep, been there, done that. They have no queen. I've searched high and low. Any advice? I don't know your timing. I would say that if ever you think you don't have a queen, you may have a queen, and it might be a virgin queen out on mating flights. That's what I'm playing with 2 or 3 of my hives right now. I should have gone out there today. It was just too hot. Couldn't bring myself to do it. I was getting ready for the live stream all day long. I'm gonna watch my time too. And so I would wait about 10 days from your inspection that you inspected last time. You got to see a queen in there after 10 days of nothing. 10 days, you got to see something, or you're going to have to drop in another queen or eggs from another colony. All right. Marianne Livingston, hi. I think you gave me the corks for my smoker. Let me check. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. These corks that you gave me for my smoker to plug the smoker with. That's great. I love these. Matter of fact, I think one will last me my lifetime. I should give some of these away. Corks to put out your smoker. Oh, you're up to 5 hives. I'm feeding the 2 small, but I'm going away for 10 days, going to try to get help, but maybe I won't be able to. Will not feeding confuse them? The nuke hive is raising a queen. They'll probably be okay, Marianne. I think they're going to be fine if you're going to be away for 10 days. You know, I'm sure where you live, there's nectar sources, and they're going to be just fine. Feed them all the way up until you leave. And then if you're feeding from the top or something, try to leave a big jar, fill it up right before you drive out of the driveway and get them going good. All right. I got a special segment coming up. Don't go too far away. It's going to be coming up in just a few minutes. Hey, Richard, thank you for your donation tonight. I appreciate you being here on the live stream. I appreciate all of you for being on the live stream. So nice to have so many of you here tonight. Always great to be a part of the Beak Squad family. Love and appreciate you guys so much, really. Gil, is there ever a case where a hive can allow 2 queens at the same time? Absolutely, more often than we think. Here's the deal with that. Usually a beekeeper will inspect a hive, and as soon as the beekeeper sees a queen, what do? You stop looking. I found the queen, and the look is over. So you never see the second queen because you're not looking for a second queen. It is not that uncommon. And oftentimes it's a mother-daughter, of course, relationship that they just learn to coexist together. And I think if more beekeepers spent time looking for a second queen, which I don't recommend, it's not really worth it. But you might find that you have 2 queens in there at once, more often than not. I've seen it before, not that often. And I do look thoroughly sometimes for 1 queen, but you know, unless she's marked, you might be seeing the same one twice, whatever. Got to mark them to know the difference. So good question. Thank you for your donation. Do you recommend swapping out drawn frames with new frames to get them drawn out? If so, what frames do you suggest to take out? Yeah, always take out the honey supers. You never want to remove brood. You need the bees. But if you have a frame of honey that the bees seem like they have additional resources, you're not making them go hungry, you could pull out a honey frame, extract it, put it back in. That way you wouldn't have to use any new comb. But I have done that just to get. I have some hives that are just known for their ability to draw comb out, and I'll feed them a lot of frames to get drawn out comb, especially very beneficial for those of us that raise nucleuses and sell nukes. You got to find a hive that can make a lot of comb for you. Oh, got a new YouTube member. Thanks, Alfred, for being a member of my YouTube channel. It's a way you can become a nectar novice or a Beak Squad ambassador, and you can donate monthly to help the cause that I'm doing on YouTube here. So I appreciate that. Welcome, Alfred. Every now and again, we have a live stream just with my members on Sunday. That's a lot of fun. Titus, what's causing my young pupae to dry out? If it's because workers are not feeding them, why? It is. That's exactly what's happening. I spoke about this a couple of nights ago in Michigan. I showed pictures of this. It is because the nurse bees cannot produce enough royal jelly or bee food, worker jelly, to give to that developing larvae, and it's very bad. Sometimes if you feed, it's going to help that, but if you're behind the 8 ball, you need nurse bees. And so it sounds like they're in a deficit of nurse bees, is what it sounds like. Feed, feed, feed. If you have another hive or two, bring over a frame of cap brood. In 6 days, you'll have that nurse bee, a bunch of nurse bees in there. Good tip there. Yeah, sorry that's happening. That's a struggle. All right, got a couple more questions, and we're going to get into our special segment. Donnie, nectar has been great. Very little pollen. Should I add a protein substitute? Well, inspect your colony. And Donnie, I would take a look. Do you have stored pollen or bee bread in your hive? If you don't, it wouldn't hurt to give them a boost of protein. They need that. They just don't live on sugar. They live on protein like we do. So give it a good inspection. You should be able to pull up the outer frames against the wall, and you should see honey and bee bread or pollen on those 3 frames against the wall, or maybe around the brood area at the top, circled out of your brood. See what you got. If not, I'd start giving them something for sure. All right, I'll take one more question, then I'm going to give a special segment tonight. Mike, how are you? I had someone tell me to use 9 frames in a 10 frame box. What's your opinion? I do live in Colorado, long winters. Okay. Most of the time when that recommendation is made, Mike, it's made about the honey super, a 10 frame honey super, and you take one out and equalize the distance of those 9 frames. They can draw out the wax further and fill up more of the honey more honey in those 9 frames than they would 10 frames is the theory. And I've done it before, and it's pretty amazing. A little difficult to cut because you'll use your cutting knife or whatever, and it's really thick, and you can dig into the comb a lot worse. But yeah, I would never do that in the brood area, and here's why. If I'm going to go 9 frames in the brood area, I'm going to lose a frame in bee production. And there's 10,000 cells on a deep frame. And so I don't really like doing that in the brood nest area. And those frames are going to get big and chunky down there. I like to manage that tight quarters, and I can control the bee space better. That cuts down on small hive beetle if I keep 10 in there. That's just me. You do you. I'll do me. Okay. And whatever works for you may not work for me, vice versa. But right now, that's where I'm headed. It's just keeping her 10 in the brood area. You go 9 up top if you want to. Absolutely. Thanks, Homer. Good to see you, Junior. JR, good to see you. Thanks for your super sticker. Thank you guys, all of you, for helping the cause tonight. All right, let me jump into our special segment. Let me get set up for it here. All right, going to be a little challenging. It's new, and you're going to play a part in this. So stay with me here. All right, let me adjust this. Now, let me tell you your role in this before we get started tonight. Your role is to come up with other ideas that we can put on the spin to win wheel. Now, I put up a few things tonight. Here's our giveaway. If it lands on one of these, we're going to give away an ultimate online beekeeping course. Our traditional way is we'll have Robbie set a course up, and we'll do it on there we'll let StreamYard pick the winner. It has to land on one of the Beak Squad stickers for it to be an ultimate giveaway tonight. Now, if it lands on bees in the news, we'll jump to that segment. We'll tell you about this week, what bees are, what's happening with bees in the news. Now, hopefully it doesn't land here because that's where I share one of my the craziest bee story. That's crazy. It might be fun. I really hope it doesn't land here because this is the most embarrassing bee story that I have. And so I'm hoping it's going to miss that. But anyway, you guys can be thinking, and maybe you can submit in the comments. We got a lot of spaces to fill. I'm not going to shave my mustache and beard off. I'm not going to shave my hair. I'm not probably going to wear a hot bee suit. So be careful what you ask me to do. I'll be selective in choosing, but I would like your help. And what would be fun in the live stream for us to have a segment each time, almost every time. And we'll do one of these things and find out what's going to happen. So you ready to spin it? I think I'm ready to spin it and see what happens. Okay. Oh, I don't know. I put this together and it worked. But you know how things go when you're live. Let's see. Ready? Okay, that's a good spin. Here we go. All right. I'm hoping it'll land on nothing. How about we take the closest one if it lands nowhere? Oh, it landed nowhere. Let's spin it again, a little slower. There we go. Got to land somewhere. I need you guys to give me some ideas. Oh, oh. It won't land on anything. Okay. Oh, let's go with the crazy bee story. Close. Oh, it's crazy. It's a crazy bee story. It's like, no way. All right, so here's my crazy bee story. Ready? Well, we have had a lot of people that wanted to be out here on the bee yard and they wanted to do something special. And in this case, a couple wanted to get married here. And so we said, yeah, you can get married at the bee yard. Why not come out here and bring a whole bunch of people wearing flowers into an apiary? Anyway, we agreed. And so a few days, maybe 5 days before the wedding, I set up some feeders. It was in the fall too. I set up some feeders way on the end of the property to draw the bees away from the crowd, right? Let them eat the feeders. And so we're having this a meal under a big tent. And of course, at that time, I'm still raising virgin queens. I'm still producing queens. I happen to have a virgin queen in a California California queen cage in my pocket, in my tuxedo, I think. So I'm sitting there at this banquet table outdoors, eating. And I said, look, here's a virgin queen. And I open it up and I let her walk out on my hand. And lo and behold, she took off. And queens fly a little bit louder. And she started flying and zoom. And people at my table were like, oh my gosh, you lost your queen. She flew away. She got away. She got out of the cage. And it's like, well, no big deal. I raised a lot of queens. It's not a big deal. So we went about eating that meal. And this is the craziest thing, because what happened was as we were talking, I heard, I looked up, I saw the queen circling and she came right back. I didn't know what else to do. I held my hand out and yeah, she landed right back in my hand. I took the cage out and I laid it. She walked in the cage. I put the little candy plug back on the cage, put her back in my pocket. And I acted like I do this every day. And I said, just pass the beans, please. And they were like, whoa, that's crazy. How did you do that? How did she know where to come back? That was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. I don't think I'd ever replicate that. We got time to do one more. All right. So be thinking of some nice things we can add to spin to win. Man, it will not hit anything. We keep it must be rigged. Oh, no. Look at that. We got quite a few choices. I'm working for you guys. Oh, we have the giveaway. I knew if we tried long enough, we'd get a giveaway. All right, this giveaway is going to be now your part. You have to enter in #class. #class in the comments. And that's your chance to win my ultimate beekeeping course. If you've already got it, if you already bought it, then you don't need to try to win it again. And you don't need to put your name in there more than once. That doesn't make any difference. So #class, and you can get the ultimate online beekeeping course, and that'd be fun. I hope you enjoyed the spin wheel. So do give me some ideas about other things you'd like to see on the spin win wheel. That's fun. Yeah, #class. This ultimate course does come with a lot of classes. All the classes that I have, Mite Control, spring and winter management. It's got a day in the apiary with David. I mean, it's just like basic beekeeping, how to raise queens, everything you can think of that I know I've put in these classes. So it's great. It's a very valuable class. It's helped thousands of people in beekeeping. So #class if you'd like to win the ultimate class tonight. All right, good deal. Yeah, it's been a fun evening tonight. The time is just sweeping by so fast. So I hope you've learned a lot tonight so far. Got one more bit of information I want to share with you before we take off after this giveaway. So stay tuned for the giveaway here. #class. And thanks, David, for the super sticker. All of you that donate to the cause, I can't tell you that means so much to me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Jonathan, thank you. Appreciate it. Always like to give a shout out to you guys. Adam, good to see you. Thanks so much. Jim, thank you for your super sticker as well. You guys are super. Yeah, EL. Thank you, Marianne. Yep. Appreciate all you guys donating so much to the cause tonight. All right, we're about ready to see who's going to win the class tonight. Robbie, give it a spin when you're ready. We'll see who will be our winner tonight of the ultimate online beekeeping course. And we'll give you information at the end where you can email us so we can get that sent out to you tonight. Who is it going to be? There's the winner. Not sure how you at longlanehoneybees@gmail.com. Within the next 24 hours, if you'll email us there, we'll be sure and get that class sent out right to you. So there you go. Make a note of that email address, and that way you'll be able to jump in there and get some of that knowledge that we talked about early on that's going to help you make better decisions in beekeeping. Yeah, I want to share with you guys a few more tips that I think is very helpful that you may not know these things yet. Other sources of content that I create. I have a YouTube channel. Obviously, you know that because you're here. On my YouTube channel, I have a podcast channel, which sometimes takes my videos and puts them into a podcast form. I also have a podcast that's all over all the podcast platforms, and it's called Mysteries of Honeybees. And I produce a podcast once a week or twice a week on my podcast. And so that information is always on our website at honeybeesonline.com. And you can look at the podcast there. So that's important. And then also we have an important thing on YouTube where you can become a member of my channel. As we mentioned, if you've just dropped in, supporting the channel by being a Nectar novice or an ambassador for my Beak Squad. And we do occasionally meet with all of you that are members. We're almost up to about 80 members now that are supporting the YouTube channel. So I appreciate that so much. So I do try to create a lot of content for you guys. Every week I publish a newsletter, and that newsletter went out today. It tells you tips and things that are going on in upcoming events that I may be speaking at, things like that. And then I create content for B Team 6. B Team 6 is my mentorship program that I think I've ran now for 8 years, helping beekeepers that need a mentor. And you email me, I answer your questions when you're struggling through things. We also produce a newsletter of information regularly for the B Team 6 membership. So if you're interested in B Team 6, again, all of these things are available at honeybeesonline.com. So we're constantly creating a ton of free information. Some of it is paid subscriptions, but as you know, from my YouTube channel and other ways, I create a ton of free content for you guys. I hope you do appreciate it. Hope you do enjoy it. I'm really giving you my heart. I'm giving you my information that's taken me years and a lot of money to figure out. And I'm just one beggar telling another beggar where the food is. So guys, it's been great tonight. I've had just a ball hanging out with you guys. You're the best, really. All of you are so great. I appreciate you coming every Thursday night and hanging out with us for 59 minutes of more fun than beekeepers should be allowed to have, hanging out with us and just enjoying the evening together. It has been a lot of fun. And I wanted you to know that I've got your back in beekeeping. I'm working really hard to answer your question, to provide really good quality content. I'm not just showing you what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing so that I can educate you in beekeeping. I think through what is it that my viewers are struggling with. I want to make a video to answer that problem. And some of you don't even know you have a problem. So sometimes I address things that can be a problem. Like my video that I produced today, it's all about a problem I'm having with mites in one particular hive. And I show you how I go about testing it and what my plan of action is to treat it. If you haven't seen that video yet, be sure and watch it after this live stream. But just know, I got your back. We got your back. We're working hard. We appreciate you. We love you. And you're not in this alone. We're in here with you. All right. Good night, everybody. See you next time. Take care.